I wanted to give Nezznar a little bit more depth than he had, because he really doesn't have any. He's about as shallow as they come. He's just the token bad guy. Why does he want the mine so badly? Somebody smarter than me said this. A good bad guy thinks he's right. A great bad guy is right. I wanted to paint Nezznar as being the great bad guy, but that's difficult to do. I kind of had to settle for thinks he's right. He's a good bad guy. He's not the best bad guy. He's not the greatest bad guy, but he'll suffice. I gave him a story to tell. Wave Echo Cave was never lost. It was closed. 500 years ago, the dwarves and the gnomes made an agreement known as the Phandelver Pact, but they didn't make it with each other. They made it with the drow. Drows in general, they have a matriarchal society. The women are in charge. Men are secondary citizens. They're also substantially larger than the men, like spiders, which is relevant because if you don't know anything about drow, they're all about spiders. Lolth is the spider queen, and that is their god or goddess. If you want an introduction to drow society and R.A. Salvatore in general, I'd start here. They believe that their race is supreme, that any other race are slaves. They do very little trade or interaction with any other races outside of violence. The drow granted permission to the gnomes and the dwarves to mine Wave Echo Cave for a small rental. Anything underground, the drow considered to be their territory. The dwarves have been mining underground since the beginning of time. So to make a claim all of the underworld belongs to the drow is a little idiotic, but there doesn't have to be any logic in the drow. They don't have to be right. They think they're right, and that's what's important. Gundren, Rockseeker, and his two brothers didn't discover the cave. Their great-grandfather was part of the Phandelver's Pact. All of that became null and void as soon as the dwarves tapped into a vein of magic. At which point the drow decided that, no, you're not going to be allowed to mine these caves anymore. Who is this ragtag band of ruffians that is creating such a mess of his plans? Normally, something of such a minor inconvenience wouldn't raise Neznar's attention. He'd have his underlings take care of the issue. However, the party at this point has created such a ruckus and likely has defeated Iarno, who should have presented more of an obstacle than he did, at least according to Nezznar. Iarno's now out of the picture. Clark's been defeated, and now Nezznar is curious. I had Nezznar appear in front of the party during a long rest. He was completely engulfed in Odaluk's resilient sphere. He levitated towards them. Anything that's engulfed in Odaluk's resilient sphere is untouchable. What were you promised that you're willing to die for? A few gold? The dwarves unearthed a vein of magic. All they saw was an opportunity for more wealth. They created the Forge of Spells and created weapons to kill each other with. Magic, pure, unadulterated magic, is as gentle as a breeze and as devastating as a hurricane, and completely apathetic about the joy it brings or the havoc it wreaks. Many things started becoming very volatile. Tremors were felt in the souls, in the minds of those that are susceptible to magic. Weak-minded creatures began lashing out and becoming violent. Swarms of orcs came down from the north, slaughtering everything in their path. And the drow saw it as their duty to shut the whole thing down. And the Phandelver's Pact was abolished, made null and void. Gundren and his two brothers are not opening that cave again. If you know anything about drow society, you know that Nezznar, as a male, is subservient to a matriarch. She is the one that's pulling the strings, whoever she might be. So it isn't so much about the mine that Nezznar is concerned with. It has more to do with not incurring the wrath of his matron mother. She's the one that wants the mine. I wanted to make the players question their stance. What if Nezznar is right? What if we're the bad guys? Now you know, and I know, that Nezznar is probably just lying. He's just making something up. It's probably best that at some point Nezznar is shown to be blowing smoke. The major issue with pursuing this plot twist is that your party may well bite. And if they bite, you're now completely off book. You're probably going into the Underdark. If he can manipulate these players into working for him rather than working against him, then the problems have been solved. He never struck me as being a melee combatant, a tough guy that's going to bully his way. He's more of the mage type, the thinker. I also don't think it's unreasonable for him to win. He could very well become a reoccurring bad guy to your party. The more depth you give him, the more you build his character, the more your players are going to appreciate him when he shows up. Role play him in such a fashion that your players are in awe when he does show up. You don't see him a lot, but when you do see him, his presence is hard to forget. He makes an impression. He doesn't have to win, but it would be a shame if he lost.